Moving on to fintech news, in the last 4 years, fintech lending or online lending has grown rapidly, changing the financing landscape in Indonesia. However, rising activities of illegal online lending platforms have caused a serious problem to the people.
Information technology-based lending services, commonly known as peer-to-peer or P2P lending platforms, are growing rapidly in Indonesia. In Indonesia, fintech lending is more popularly called online lending or pinjaman online or pinjol in Bahasa. The online lending is quite popular among young people. In fact, according to data from the Financial Authority Agency or OJK, most of the demands for online lending come from millennials and Generation Z. Many people turn to online lending platforms because the application process is easy and simple, with no collateral requirements. You can only apply for an online loan by providing only a few personal data, such as an identification card or KTP, and tax identification numbers or NPWP, and of course, mobile phone number. In contrast to conventional loans, the entire online lending application process is also carried out online without going through a survey or interview process by visiting a complicated branch office. Simply by using a smartphone and internet connection, you can apply for an online loan and the funds can be transferred directly to the intended account number. Another reason that encourages many people applies for online loans is that the loan can be disbursed instantly, even a few hours after the application is approved. It makes the online lending become best financing alternative in solving urgent financial problems. As reported by the Jakarta Post, the OJK recorded that total outstanding loans disbursed by fintech lending or peer-to-peer or P2P lending platforms reached 51.02 trillion rupiah, or about $3.4 billion as of March 2023, an increase 36.5% year-on-year. The number of registered fintech lending platforms reached 102 providers with total assets of 6.38 trillion rupiah, an increase of 41% year-on-year. Meanwhile, the default rate under 90 days for P2P lending platforms was recorded at 2.81% in the same period, rising from 2.32% in the same period last year. Interestingly, more than 60% of fintech loans were distributed to customers within the 90 to 34-year-old age bracket. From those accounts, 86% can be categorized as performing loans and 3% are included as non-performing loans. From this information, we can conclude that most of the demand for fintech loans comes from Gen Z and millennials. However, the rise of illegal online lending activities has caused many problems in the community. Many people have fallen victim to them, as many illegal platforms have violated regulations and business ethics, as well as excessive interest rates and other charges. Generally, the victims often receive intimidation, violation of privacy, terror due to the delay of the installment payment. So far, the OJK has appealed to the public to always use the services of fintech lending providers which have been licensed by the agency. For this reason, the OJK regularly issues a list of online lending platforms that have been registered. As of March 2023, there are a total of 102 online lending platforms which have operated legally under the supervision of OJK. In addition, the Financial Service Authority, or OJK, together with the Investment Alert Task Force, also routinely terminate unlicensed online entities. Since 2018 until January 2023, as many as 4,482 illegal online lending platforms have been closed. Indeed, the OJK has taken some action to deal with those issues. However, in general, the supervision carried out by the authorities is still weak, and it is often late to act because it waits for official reports to be filed. The OJK should be more proactive and take preventive measures. Of course, eradicating illegal online lenders is not only the OJK's job. All stakeholders must also take responsibility, especially those involved in the business, such as the Indonesian Fintech Lenders Association, or AFPI.
Peer-to-peer or P2P lending or fintech lending has become popular alternative source of financing in Indonesia at present, not only for individuals but also corporate borrowers. It is an honor to have with us this afternoon Bapak Sunu Widiatmoko, the Secretary General of Indonesian Fintech Lenders Association or AFPI, and he will share with us about opportunities and challenges of the online lending business in the country at present. Bapak, thank you so much for joining us today. At the moment, Bapak, the online lending is definitely very popular among the people, the Indonesian people, and according to OJK's data, there are currently 102 fintech P2P lending. Is this correct,
Yes,
Pak?
that is correct. Those are our members.
That is a huge amount, Pak, and with total financing reaching 564 trillion rupiah. So Pak Sunu, how is the market potential of the online lending business in Indonesia at present?
Right. The market is so huge. Because we are serving the bottom of the pyramid or the underserved.
This is still bottom of the pyramid.
The bottom of the pyramid. Those are the market that cannot be served by banks and other financial institutions. So that's why the fintech, the growth is high recently. It goes with the unbanked SME. The unbanked SME is about 46.6 million. And the unbanked people, those people who cannot go to the banks and borrow money from banks or borrow money from financial institutions, those numbers is amounted to 132 million. So those are the potential market of the fintech lending. So that's why we see the recent hypes of the fintech lending in the last few years.
Okay, well, according to the data from the OJK, most of these demands for online lending actually comes from millennials,
right,
and also Generation Z.
Right.
Do you think such market is actually lucrative enough to finance businesses?
Yes, it is, because of course, as fintech, the borrower should be internet literated, right? So internet literated are those that are with millennials, those between the age of 20 to 55.
It starts from the millennials.
So that's why the millennials. That's about 95% of our markets. And those are the ages where they start new businesses. They start their new life. So that's why the need of money, either for consumer or for the productive in the SME market. So those are really our markets.
But how about the demand from, say, corporate borrowers, such as small and also medium-scale companies?
Right. Okay. People sometimes might misunderstood us that we only serve for the consumer lending, but actually fintech itself, we serve both the productive and the consumer sectors. About 43% of our lending goes to the productive sector, which is the SMEs, and most of the SME are usually are the new business, new startups, and those are businesses that falls within our market at the age between 25 and 55. So that's why fintech really there to help them to grow their business.
But many people, and we have heard this news like pretty recently actually, that a lot of people have fallen prey to illegal lending. We have heard a lot of people receiving intimidation, also privacy violation, also terror due to the delay in the installment payment. So what has the association done to such practices?
Okay, because of this business is relatively new compared to the banks and the financial institutions, and those who are illegals, they do practices that's not, well, it's not like they don't do business like what locals do. And what the association did and have done is that we required that every collection agents need to be certified by the association. So we want to make sure that those who collect and that those who serve the borrowers have license with the or certificated with the AFP, with the association. So that's the most important thing, because we want to make sure that those who do the collection are in compliance with the code of ethics that we have. And as those who are illegals, as a nation, I think the regulator, the government, the parliament also realized the potential of this industry. So that's why we've seen recently there's a new law passed that's related to the personal data protection law. That's very useful for us. So those who are categorized as illegal, they cannot have access to the data. So otherwise they would be deemed as criminal. That's one. Two, we also recently have the law of development and strengthening of financial sectors. In the law itself, it says that those who serve who do in the business of lending is deemed criminal if they don't have a proper license.
Right.
So everyone do their part. Government, regulator do their part in terms of the law for the to make sure that the business is done properly. And we as an organization, as a association, we want to make sure that all of our members, the 102, comply with the code of conduct that we have. So everyone is doing their part.
Right, but according to the latest OJK survey, Pak, the people's financial literacy, it remains very low at the moment. Yeah. What should the government and fintech lenders do to improve this condition? Because our situation right now is pretty bad, and the fintech lending is still increasing. Like there are more and more application and more fintech lenders.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we have to learn in one way or another. And as for the getting the people access, we need to make sure that they have to understand their obligation, that they have to repay the debt. So financial literacy is a homework for everyone. Government have done their job, association have done their job, but people also need to learn that every debt needs to be paid. In the past, maybe they realized that they could borrow money from their neighbor, from their family. But now, suddenly, there's a technology that they could borrow money instantly from apps.
Less responsibility.
So if they live in a remote island with an access to internet, they could borrow money instantly without having to meet with the lender. So to those who are new to this, they would realize that, it's easy to get money. So I don't have to pay, but they forgot. But the digital footprints will be there forever. So I think it's a homework for everyone. That financial literacy is homework for everyone. There is no a quick win for this, but it's a long marathon that it's everyone's job to understand this. If you were even recently, even some students are fall into this trap, right? So. Financial literacy is not only to those who are uneducated in a remote island somewhere, but it's everyone's. It's very easy. You have to make sure and you have to understand that the product offered to you, the financial product offered to you, makes sense. It's logical. If the product is not logical, then must be something behind it. So that's really what you call is a rule of thumb that is easy to understand on the financial literacy.
Pak Sunuk, how do you think the government and also the association can catch up in educating the Indonesian people?
I think...
do you think we've done enough? What can we do more to make this educating all the people faster?
Yes, social media would be the best. We as an association, along with OJK, is trying to create a program, a joint program to fast forward the process for educating the people on the financial literacy. This is very important. Okay. This is very important.
Last question, Pak. With the recent closure of many fintech startups in Indonesia, do you think the country's fintech, including online lending platforms, remain attractive to foreign investors?
I think yes. If you look at the opportunity, it's remain lucrative. But in every business, there's always high and low, right? High tide and low tide. Yes, we have to admit there's a global threat on the economic side. financial crisis out there, which is not here yet. So everyone is sort of trying to hold on their ambition to invest here. But I think time would prove if you do things right in terms of Indonesian industry. If we all do it right, the government, the player, everyone is doing it right, then I think the confidence will be back sooner than later.
How do you think the fintech industry will grow in the coming years, Pak Sunu?
I think it will go, because if you see in the past, we grow, until now we still grow double digits. Last year we recorded around 50% growth, so it's very high. Of course, there's always an argument that it's a low base number, that is correct. But we see this still huge opportunity. The key of the fintech is actually on the innovations of the product. So if we, the players, the 102 players, keep innovating on the products offered to the borrowers, I think the demand would still be there.
But while we are at the moment, we are on mainstream media now. Maybe if you could give some advice to maybe the youngsters out there or those people who are willing to borrow but they don't have enough education, where would you suggest actually people to borrow from, and what should they be cautious of?
I think in any institution that you borrow, you have to make sure that you borrow from a legal financial institutions, be it fintech, multi-finance or banks. Make sure that it's a legal one, especially the fintech. And when you borrow, make sure that you could borrow something that you need. Make sure that you have enough knowledge or enough source of repayment to repay the debt. So that's the key terms, keywords for borrowing.
You mentioned there are options in borrowing, whether it's from the bank or from the fintech lending.
Right.
Which one would you actually recommend more,
I think just be realistic. Bank would offer you a lower lending rate, borrowing rate. Of course, fintech would be higher, but it also goes with the requirements and the qualification that you have. If you are a bankable person, supposedly if you are a person with a stable income, monthly income, then you could get a credit card, or you could go to the bank showing your credential. Bank would love to give you money. But if you are a person with no stable income, with no good track record, you cannot go to banks. So you have to go to the fintech lending. So going to fintech lending is a stepping stone to build your credit history. So when you build your credit history, being as a person or people with no stable income, if you have a good record that you are a good borrower, when your life goes on, then your business is going up, then you would have a strong credential that proof that to show that you are a good borrower. So banks would go to see you and support your businesses.
So basically, get yourself educated and make the wisest choice when choosing the fintech lending. All right, Pak Sunu Widiatmoko, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you, Pak.